MudRFunR here. Today I'm working on a 02 Avalanche, and it has a 5.3 liter in it. And today I'm going to be changing the knock sensors, and that involves taking the intake off. So I recommend getting a new intake gasket. Okay, so the first thing, I'm going to take this cover off the top. That's a 8mm socket there. And next is going to be the hose for the intake. So there's just the clamp over here that goes into your throttle body, and this clamp that comes off of your air filter box, and this clip that holds your rad hose down and in place. Alright, well, this has to come out from here one way or another. So I'm going to try and pry it with this one. There she goes, finally. Okay, so it's all ready to lift out. Got the clamps off. Okay, I'm going to start with throttle cable and the cruise control cable. Should just snap right off of there. That's the end. Whoop. Okay, I got it off with prying it out with a little screwdriver. Just squeeze these together and push, and they should slide right out. And this one is even easier. Okay, flip that over. And there you go. And these clips are on the top and the bottom. Give it a little push. And they're out. And they're clipped into this bracket here. I'm going to take this whole bracket off anyway, so I'm going to leave them clipped in. And this bracket here has got two 10mm bolts in it. I got my two 10mm out. I had to get the back one with the ratcheting wrench, or wrench, whatever you want. And then this will allow you to pull this all out of the way. Always keep a tray handy for parts and tools. So there's a lot of wiring that's going to have to come off of here. Be careful with everything. Things can become brittle after a while. There's this wire off the top. And down here for your throttle body. There's another one on top of the throttle body. And in order to be able to get this all out of my way here, I'm going to undo the alternator one as well, just so I can pull all this out of the way. Now you should have the battery disconnected for this. That should be your first step. So the alternator one has just got a little clip there. I just pulled it up with my finger. Nice and easy. And this is all part of this right here. And it's all bolted on right there. I'll have to get that off. So everything that is attached to the intake from this wire harness is going to have to go. There's one wire at the back here that goes downward. That can stay on there. And then you're going to have to take all your injector wires off here. Part of these clips are missing already, so there's only one tab on these. Just right there. Just have to push that down in and they come out. 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so it's a good thing we started on the passenger side. That bolt right there is going to have to come off so that we can get all the wires pulled out of the way and we can get at the passenger side injectors. This will help. Okay, get that bolt off of there and the wiring pulled out of the way.
I can't.
One. Okay, just going to get the rest of the injector wires off the driver's side and get back to you. Okay, so there was another wire right in the back here yet, on top. Yeah, I've got that off. And just kind of tucked everything back with tied it back with a wire here. And there's one more right here that's going to have to come out. Undo the wire right there, and that should be it for that. Okay, so then you want to take this throttle body off the front here, and that's a 10mm. Just leave the hoses on there, and I'll get those two out and back to you. So it was actually 3 nuts that had to come off on here, one on this side and one on this side. Okay, this is going to come off a little tight because of this little short hose down here, but it is rubber, it's going to bend, so you can pry that off of that bolt and just make sure it slides off evenly. And that should get out of your way far enough that you can pull the intake off. You can always wire it back onto the hose here or something if you want. And when you're prying, just make sure you're careful with this gasket. Okay, I'm going to give this a little shot here to try and push this hose off with this pry bar. Sometimes you can get lucky. It'll slip right off. Maybe not. I'll just work it loose the rest of the way with these. Alright. We'll get another hose out of the way. And now we need to take the fuel lines off. The interesting part when you don't have a tool for it. Okay, these fuel lines, if you don't have the right tool, can be a little difficult. There's four clips up inside of there. And they all have to be pushed in at the same time. One out. Number 2. Out she comes. Whoo-wee. Second one's always easier, right? Okay, there's this one line that runs down through here, and I can see it's running right up underneath this line here, and yeah, so it's not flexible in any way, and I don't see any other way but to take this line off of here so that I can move this out of the way. So in the back here there's a little bracket that holds your fuel lines in place, and it's an 8 mil. That's going to have to come off first. On each side here there's a T20 screw, and if that thing gets in your way, you might as well move it. And we're probably going to have some more fuel coming out of here again. That might be a little bit tight getting it out. Just be careful with it, and might have to wiggle it and pry it a little bit to get it out. A little more fuel came out, and we can get this right out of our way. Won't be bothering us anymore. Okay, it's still underneath the fuel rail there, so I'm going to take the other fuel rail bolt off right there just to get that out. And that would be another 8. Now I don't want this fuel rail to come right off, so I just want to move it out of the way far enough so that I can get that line out of there from underneath it here. Just like so. Alright. Pull that off again. I'm just going to turn this out of my way completely. There we go. And this is the thing that I've been trying to get off. That's just ridiculous. A lot of work for one hose. Okay, so I'm just going to put one of the bolts back in for the fuel rail, just to keep it in place while we're moving things around. Now that everything's out of the way, wires are off, everything else is off, and we're all clear to get these 8mm bolts out that hold the intake on. Then we can get at the knock sensors. All loose now. Yeah, I can lift this end if you can get to the back end and try and lift the back end up. Okay, how are we doing there? Everything off?
Nope, just a hose.
A hose?
Yeah, there's a hose attached.
Oh.
And a wire. That's attached to here.
Forgot one vacuum hose. Hang on. Then we just take it out of the brake booster. There we go. Okay, all ready to lift out then. This is the torque sequence for the intake bolts, and the first time around you're going to do 44. They're underneath those rubber plugs.